my buddy Sean cussed out the cops. One of my favorite stories from my senior year of college. I love my buddy Sean, one of my best friends, heart of gold. Dude can be a dick. It's our Christmas party weekend, and we're having a big-ass party. Christmas is by far my favorite holiday of the year. And I was like, I'm going all out for this. So I had Christmas lights all over the front of the house, a blow-up Santa with a Budweiser. We had the whole house wrapped in wrapping paper. This was a big deal for us. This was like one of our last big parties of our senior year. We were going to go all out. I'm out on the front porch drinking with my buddy Milton. Milton always loved to say that I was whipped, which goes, I was. And so I have a megaphone, and Milton and I went from yelling in the megaphone to get people to come up to our house to yelling at each other through the megaphone. So Milton and I are calling each other pussies. He's calling me whipped. I'm calling him a bitch. We're just going back and forth yelling, vulgar obscenities. And finally, the cops show up. And they're like, we got a noise complaint from this address because there was a house a couple doors over that was just a normal family. It wasn't like college kids. And I'm like, this one's on me. I'll go talk to the cops. So I walk off the front porch. Here's my driver's license. And they're like, cool, so you live here? I'm like, well, I live here. I'm not on the lease, but I live here. Like, I don't know how that works for like writing a ticket, but I do kind of live here. And they're like, yeah, it's fine, don't worry about it. So I'm like, okay, cool. So they're filling out my information, and this was when I had my creased ID. My real fucking ID. From one of the bars snapping it. So they're kind of looking at my ID kind of funny, but obviously they can just read off the driver's license number and confirm that it's real with whoever's at the station. So they had already done that. But they're still kind of looking at it funny because they can't see my address and name through the creased ID for them filling out this citation. My buddy is on the porch, one of the funniest dudes I've ever met. He's on the porch and he starts looking down. I don't know if he was drunk or what, but he's looking down, and I think he thought the cops were like questioning my ID. And he's like, I swear to God, that's a real fucking ID. He's like, that ID right there, that's a good guy right there, that's a real ID. I know it looks fake. It's going on this whole rant to make sure these cops understand that my ID is real. And I'm like, dude, they already know it's real, it's cool. And he's like, that's a real ID. That is a real ID. I just want you guys to know, I know he's from Kentucky. I know it looks weird. That's a real ID. And they're like, hey man, it's cool. We know. The cops say, look, we're just going to give you a warning. No actual ticket. Just have everyone drop their drinks at the door and leave. And I'm like, fair enough. So I run up on the porch. I tell the other guys I live with, hey, we just got to get everyone out. Tell them to drop their drinks at the door. We're cool. So we cut the music, and I'm like, just to make sure people know we're shutting down, I unplug our Christmas lights outside. And they were pretty sweet lights, I'm not going to lie. I had climbed all the way up on the second story roof to get them up. They looked fucking good. As people start to clear out, you get to the last few people who are always the stragglers of the party crowd. As they're leaving, the cops are super chill. They're like, thanks for, being cooperative. And I'm like, dude, thank you guys for not giving me a ticket. We should have got a fucking ticket. So I'm like, thank you guys. Because, the cops in a small college town usually pretty chill. But they can be dicks. But in this case, they were super chill, super nice. And as everyone's leaving, Sean appears. Don't know where Sean was while we were getting talked to by the cops, but all of a sudden, here he comes. Kicks the front door open. Comes out. What the fuck? Who turned my fucking Christmas lights off? This is fucking bullshit. Just drunkenly ranting. I'm like, oh fuck. It looks like he's cussing the cops out. And the cops definitely tried to ignore it at first, but it got to a point where it was so obnoxious where the cops finally turned around and they're like, hey man, we didn't even come here to shut the lights off. We just came for a noise complaint. You had to shut down the party. And Sean's looking at him. So I can turn my Christmas lights back on? And they're like, yeah, we don't care. And he's like, fuck yeah. Runs up, plugs the lights back in. And we hung out the rest of the night on the porch after the cops left. But it was just so funny because it's only Sean can cuss out two police officers over Christmas lights and then get permission to plug them back in, even though I'm the one that unplugged them. So, because if I was a cop, I'd beat his ass. But here he comes being a dick, and somehow the cops are like, hey man, you have a good night. But there you go. And what can you say? Christmas party weekend. I was riding around town.